Most people think learning to ride a motorcycle is about mastering the clutch, and that idea is so baked into motorcycle culture that nobody ever really stops to question it. But here's some truth. Riders aren't crashing because they botched a shift. They're crashing because they panic, because they don't stop in time, because they can't get the bike turned.
And none of that has anything to do with a clutch lever. That idea is uncomfortable, but it's also why this bike matters. This is the 2026 Honda Rebel 300, and for decades it's been the first motorcycle for millions of riders. It's low, light, friendly, and unintimidating.
And now Honda has done something that has a lot of instructors pretty upset. They've added e-clutch.
For 2026, the Rebel 300 is only available with Honda's e-clutch, and despite that upgrade, the price stays essentially the same. It's the same beloved, great-looking entry-level cruiser with all the same specs and features. LED lighting, a clean LCD dash with a gear indicator, that's a big deal. Nothing flashy, nothing complicated, just smart numbers that add up to a motorcycle that's easy to live with. Now, normally press events would have us cruising canyon passes or empty county roads. Today, we're doing the opposite. We're starting here at the world-famous Bike Shed Motor Co., and we're being tossed straight into LA traffic. Stop-and-go congestion, tight streets, hills, and all the daily chaos that trips riders up, new and experienced. If e-clutch can handle this, it should be able to handle just about anything you could throw at it.
Initial impressions, we've only been riding for, 10 minutes. They did get a bunch of details right. Most notably and most intuitively is there's this little green light on the gauge that tells you what's going on really simply. If I'm in auto clutch mode like I am now, the light is a solid green. If I start using the clutch, it turns off. Or if I'm trying to start from a stop with the clutch on, it turns off. But the intuitive part, we'll do it here. If I come to a stop and I forget to downshift into first gear, so I'm coming to a stop in third gear, right? The light is blinking at me like a turn signal. And so it pulls your attention down. You're like, oh, why is it blinking at me? Oh, because I forgot to downshift back into first. Nice touch. And let's do some MSF drills. The rocking drill, right? I can do it with or without the clutch. Now with the clutch, the little green light turns off. And I can do the exact same drill with the clutch. In fact, the e-clutch does it just as well as I do. Now to put it back into auto mode, I got to put it into neutral, let go of the clutch, click it back down into first. And now we're back in auto clutch mode. E-clutch mode. So Jake with Spite's Corner just asked a really interesting question. I wish I had the camera rolling for it. He asked, if this was the bike you started on, would you be learning to ride a motorcycle or would you be learning to ride an e-clutch? And I think the answer is, it allows you to learn the way you want to learn. If you want to learn the traditional clutch thing right off the bat, it's there for you. And if you want to delay the whole clutch stuff until you get the other stuff figured out, it's your choice. I love it.
Honda's e-clutch is an electronic system that controls the clutch while keeping the transmission completely conventional. Instead of one large actuator, Honda uses two small electric motors, which keeps the system compact, lightweight, and precise. Those motors are controlled by the bike's computer, monitoring engine speed, throttle position, and gear selection to engage or disengage the clutch at exactly the right moment. There are no menus or settings to manage. The moment the rider touches the clutch lever, the system simply steps out of the way and lets the bike operate like a normal, traditional manual motorcycle. The result is smoother starts, consistent shifts, and built-in stall prevention without changing how the bike feels to ride.
Bumpity, bumpity, bumpy. Now, they did revise the damping rates, and if you're new to motorcycles, damping rates are, suspension's just a spring. Damping rates control how fast that spring can move. And if a bike is under-damped, the springs move too easily and you're like your uncle's old Cadillac. And if it's over-damped, the springs feel really stiff because the damping's preventing the spring from actually moving the way it wants to. This has very appropriate damping for what it is. How does it do on the freeway? Let's close the visor and see. It's doing just fine. This is just a lovely little motorcycle. I just love small bikes to begin with. And this one is like exceptionally, it's forgiving, it's playful. Yeah, forgiving, right? I think that's the word I keep coming back to on this one is this is a very forgiving motorcycle.
On their own, all those spec sheet numbers can feel abstract, but together they explain exactly why this bike works so well. The low seat and lightweight immediately reduce intimidation, while the chassis geometry, especially the 4.3 inches of trail, does most of the quiet work when it comes to how the bike feels. Trail is one of the most important numbers in motorcycle handling because it influences how the front wheel self-centers and how stable or responsive a bike feels as it moves. Too much trail and a bike can feel floppy and clumsy at low speeds. Too little and it can feel nervous or unsettled as speeds rise. The Rebel's trail figure threads that needle, giving it a calm, settled feel in traffic and at speed without making it dull or reluctant when you tip into a turn. The result is a motorcycle that encourages confidence early on, yet still feels responsive and engaging as your skills grow.
I'm still shifting. I'm shifting a lot. It's a small engine and we're in traffic. Stop and go speeds are changing constantly. I'm still shifting, right? It's not automatic. I still have to think about and pay attention to what gear I'm in. And I just we really have to keep hitting this point. It just takes the clutch lever out of the equation for me. But what's remarkable is how well it does it. Also, here we're heading into a situation that is really, really stressful for a new rider, which is an uphill stop at a stop sign, right? And it's just going to handle it, no problem. No problem. It's forgiving. It takes some of the drama out. Hey, look, we're going through the Back to the Future Part 2 tunnel. Can't help myself. So when you flog it, it does just fine. But again, this bike is just really great. All motorcycles deserve love. Fun turn. Well, we have found the limit of lean. All right, so let's talk about some of the more day-to-day things. The gauge, despite its kind of dark and subtle look of it, is plenty easy to read, even in glaring sunlight. So that's nice. I thought it was going to be like the gauge on the DAX, which is almost impossible to read in any kind of light. And no, it's easy, it's clear. Pretty impressed with that. The brakes are quite good. They give nice, firm feel without being grabby or overly aggressive. They're really easy to modulate, which makes it really easy to stop the bike how you want to stop it. Ergonomics are for a cruiser very neutral and comfortable. The E-clutch thing, the two motors and all the stuff, depending on where your foot is on the foot peg, you can feel it, or you can just shift your foot a little farther forward and you won't even know it's there. It's worth mentioning. Everything else about the bike is really, it's typical Honda, right? It's well put together, it's well thought out, and again, I keep coming back to the same word. It's a forgiving motorcycle, which brings the fun up. I get to do this all the time. I'm riding new motorcycles all the time, and there is a level of stress coming on these press events, unfamiliar roads, unfamiliar motorcycle, and some bikes are harder than others to kind of figure out. This one you figure out right away. It's a very willing partner to just go squirt around on. It's really the kind of bike that makes you want to go out and play.
The Honda Rebel has been teaching people how to ride for a long time. Since the original Rebel 250 arrived in 1985, it's been one of the most common first motorcycles in the world, especially in rider education programs. Millions of riders have had their very first starts, shifts, and moments of confidence on one. And that creates a real emotional connection. For a lot of people, the Rebel represents the moment riding stopped being intimidating and started feeling possible. That's why changes to this bike can make people uneasy. When a motorcycle has been the foundation of rider education for generations, adding new technology can feel like you're tampering with something important. The concern isn't really about the technology itself, it's about protecting a machine that's helped so many people take their first steps into motorcycling.
So let's switch things up a little bit, and let's ride it assuming that it is an absolute traditional motorcycle. No e-clutch. I'm going to use the clutch every single shift, and let's see how it does. Is it actually like a normal motorcycle if I want it to be a normal motorcycle? So we've been riding for a little while using it in pure analog mode. Feels just like any other normal clutch. Aside from the fact that it's a really good clutch. The pull is really light. It doesn't fatigue your hand. It's really easy to control the release. You can really feel the friction zone when you go through it. And if you choose to blip shift, like what we're playing with now, it blip shifts beautifully. So I think you have to look at e-clutch not so much as you're giving up anything, right? E-clutch is not a sacrifice. You're gaining, if anything, right? You gain the ability to have something that's just way easier to manage in tricky situations like stop and go traffic or those stop signs at the top of a steep hill, those weird situations that can be really stressful when you're just getting started. But then as you progress, you get the ability you get a really good quick shifter, right? Or you get full analog. You basically get three systems in one. And I think that's a beautiful thing, right? It's more choice, more freedom to learn the way you want to learn at the rate you want to learn. But I will say, going back to the whole coaching thing, and, I did it for well over a decade. So many brand new riders got so worked up and so frustrated and so flustered because they were struggling to figure out the whole shifting thing and the clutch thing. And I watched firsthand as it slowed their progress. I'll tell you right now, there are more important things than shifting a motorcycle. If you want to learn to ride a motorcycle, the most important things to learn are how to control it through corners and how to stop. And a clutch has very little to do with those things. So rather than focusing like all your mental energy on this relatively menial task that over your riding career will become absolutely automatic, you won't even think about it, you learn faster. You get into the sport quicker with fewer barriers. And I can't criticize that at all, I imagine some MSF instructors might be watching this video and saying, oh, we're going to turn out a lower quality rider. I couldn't disagree more. I think it's going to turn out a higher quality rider because they're going to be able to focus on more important skills. Now, with that said, I do think every rider who gets this bike would benefit from doing what I'm doing now and getting in the habit of squeezing the clutch every time you stop and trying to get in the habit of starting rolling with the clutch like a normal motorcycle. I think that just is going to build good habits as you progress as a rider. But in the initial stages or when you're first starting out, who cares? Like, let the thing handle it for you until you get your legs underneath you. Just my, humble, informed perspective from someone who has taught literally thousands of riders how to ride. The clutch and shifting is not as important as it feels when you're just getting started.
The important thing to understand about e-clutch is that this isn't new rider tech you tolerate until you outgrow it, and you're not giving up anything by having it. Honda developed it using technology and engineering thinking drawn from the highest levels of motorcycle racing. We're talking MotoGP, and then from their own robotics division. What they've done is package that performance-driven approach in a way that actually makes sense on the street. This system reduces workload when things get busy, smooths out the rough edges of real-world riding, and just as importantly, it works remarkably well when the pace picks up and riding gets more athletic. And in practice, the divide is pretty clear. The people who are most critical of e-clutch are usually the ones who haven't spent any time riding it. The people who have tend to come away impressed, and more than a few of them end up wishing their next bike has it too.
Lane splitting, how I love thee. The joys of California. The ability to kind of move through traffic like this. Like, why else would you Why would you want a car here? Oh, it's so nice not thinking about the clutch. Doing this. This is probably the ultimate test of e-clutch, the ultimate benefit. These really kind of high stress, not really high stress, but definitely challenging situations. And just taking one thing off your plate makes it a lot easier. Nice! Just gets up and goes. Perfect. It's so good in this situation. It also seems to shift a little bit better when you short shift it. And short shifting means you shift early. You shift before you really need to, so the RPMs are lower. And it just makes it for a gentler, smoother ride because you have effectively less power because you're lower in the rev range of the engine. More lane splitting, freeway lane splitting. And once again, I love not having to think about the clutch. Now, Canyon Chasers is first and foremost more of an education channel. That's really where I got your start. I have massive background in coaching, and one of the best things you can do as you get into your riding career, riding this motorcycle, whatever bike you end up choosing, is learn to ride while always covering the front brake, and just turn that into muscle memory. We roll off the throttle to the front brake, right? This is a pretty intense situation, right? As a new rider, you might be looking at this going like, oh my gosh, never, ever will I ever. But the reality is, it's not that stressful, but you have to be prepared to go to the brakes at any moment. And that's not just in situations like that. This is all traffic situations. Learn to ride covering your front brake. It will absolutely save your life.
Who is the Honda Rebel 300 actually for? Well, let's be totally honest. It's for new riders staring at a very steep learning curve and realizing this isn't a video game that you can just restart if you get it wrong.
It's for shorter riders, lighter riders, and riders who value confidence over bravado. And yeah, sometimes it's also for the people who care about them, who want that first bike to feel approachable instead of intimidating.
Is it too small? Well, it depends.
On paper, it's easy to assume the Rebel 300 will feel overwhelmed once traffic speeds up. But out on the road, it actually does better than you'd expect. It keeps up when it needs to, without feeling frantic or stressed. You're not blasting past cars,
But you're also not a rolling roadblock. And the impressive part is that it manages that without losing its friendly, easygoing nature.
This probably isn't the bike you're taking cross-country to Sturgis. But here's the thing.
I have every confidence that it could do it.
It would just do it at its own pace, focused on getting you there rather than showing off.
But here's the $25 question. Will you outgrow the Rebel 300? Honestly, I hope so, because that means it did its job.
This bike isn't meant to be your forever motorcycle. It exists to get you through the hardest part of riding, the beginning, with fewer scares and fewer moments where stress takes over. Outgrowing a motorcycle isn't a failure. It means you rode it enough to learn what you want next. E-Clutch gives you room to learn without punishing small mistakes, and it does it so seamlessly that it never takes anything away from the experience. Every experienced rider you admire started somewhere, on something simple, forgiving, and confidence building. For a lot of people, that something has been a Honda Rebel. If this bike is your first step, and if it turns riding into a lifelong habit instead of a short-lived experiment, then it's done exactly what it was designed to do.